One of the realizations of trying to emulate film is the fact that it's non-linear. While trends and enthusiasts are promoting a film look, it becomes necessary to question what is it about film that we subjectively like? What about the film that can be replicated? And if it's worth replicating? Welcome to the FilmVerse project, where we are trying to build an intuitive look-building workflow to house complex looks like practical film emulations. Even if you aren't a fan of film emulation, stick around to learn a couple of color tricks. A free version of this plugin is mentioned in the description below. Feel free to download and play around with it. Welcome to the Colorist Foundry. Let's begin. We have our footage right here, and we are going to set up our color space transforms to be able to use FilmVerse. If you want to check out the video on setting up these color space transform, please make sure to check out our last video. I'll link it in the description. You can also check out the PDF manual that comes with the free and full version of the plugin to get started. We have our CST in and CST out here, and we have our FilmVoice plugin in the center. Let's go ahead and create a power grade still, and let's apply it to our first footage. This footage was shot on red. We are going to select the color space as red white gamut and input gamma as red log 3G10. This is our plugin before and after. Following is the permanent layout for our future updates for the FilmVerse plugin. The first 3 handles control the shape of the skin. Skin is important. The next 5 controls are for fine-tuning our film curve, 2 of which are new. The last 3 control film saturation. These 3 are pretty important as the math underneath is way different than traditional math under Resolve saturation tools, in the ways that serve our look-modifying purposes. Finally, we have updated our output modes to include Fujifilm's print style as well. In total, we have our classic Kodak 2383 output, the new Fujifilm output, and our classic raw Cineon output. The first thing I do is play around with saturation, especially playing around with film saturation in the mix with normal saturation. Let's shift our skin to be a bit more red, and let's reduce the skin saturation just by a bit. Now, we use our split style control to create a very specific look. What does this control do? This control is designed away from accuracy to serve an intuitive look building guide. If you shift it fully to the left, it will create a classic vintage palette with colder highlights and warmer shadows. If you shift the control towards the right, it will create a much more contemporary look with colder shadows and warmer highlights. In our case here, let's shift it towards the right. We'll adjust our deep darks and highlights. And here is our initial look. Let's see how it stacks up against Rec 709 as a base for our look building. Let's take a screenshot and let's try something else. Let's shift the shift style toward the left. Let's play around with a couple of adjustments. Let's remove Resolve's Kodak LUT and enable our color space transform output node. Let's come back and see how Fujifilm's output looks. Seems like we're too heavy on the split tone. Let's decrease it. Increase film saturation just a bit. And there we have it. Let's compare how it stacks up against our contemporary style grade. Do note that we're just playing around with the plugin. Upcoming tutorials will follow a much organized approach to look building with the FilmVerse plugin. Moving on to our next shot, a pretty interesting close-up of the human eye. Let's increase the contrast, split tone intensity, and let's shift style up to the right. With this one, let's manually correct the white balance. Let's use the offset wheel to steer away from overall existing red balance of our footage. Some back and forth to see what sort of color contrast suits the image. Reducing the contrast, shifting style to the left. And this looks pretty interesting, much like a heavy retro palette. Let's see how this reacts with texture. Let's enable Node with FilmVerse texture. This looks good! Let's take a screenshot and get back to our contemporary style grade, disable texture and shift style back to the right. Let's play just a bit more with the tonality, white balance and skin shift. And here's our contemporary look. Let's see how it stacks up against the retro palette we created earlier. Let's take our last footage and apply the grade to it. Let's remove the white balance node as it was meant for earlier footage. This looks good. Let's take a screenshot and let's see how it looks when we mess with split style. It takes the form of something pretty modern. Let's play around with the saturation. And here's before and after. The plugin integrates color and texture, providing an intuitive toolkit for film look building. As we continue to expand our collection of film stocks, our primary aim remains to transcend the traditional film aesthetic. Our current update is designed to accommodate a broader spectrum of workflows in contemporary projects. We're focused on enhancing the plugin's underneath math over time. We encourage you to download and thoroughly test the plugin using the links provided below. In an effort to welcome new users to our growing software brand, we're offering an exclusive 30% discount if you choose to purchase within the next 3 days. All the details can be found in the description. Stay tuned for more content, including tutorials ranging from look building techniques to professional grade tips and tricks. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on Instagram @coloristfoundry.